Hello, everyone. Hope all of you guys are doing well. I am doing well, just so you guys know. And today we're here with Milan, and it is, trust me, a pleasure to have you on. And I look forward to a very healthy conversation with you about what you do and what your vision is. So thank you so much for being on here. Can you please give like a brief introduction for the audience, then we can kickstart this conversation?
Hey, Raheen, it's nice to be on, and hello, everyone. I'm Malin Fung. I'm the chair and co-founder of the People-Centered Internet, and I was born in Singapore. That's it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for introducing yourself. Okay, so like we were talking before we started recording, I really love to do this, and yeah, there have been some people that, find it a little unorthodox, which it definitely is. But I love asking how you were when you were my age. So I'm 15 right now, and I'm very curious because I think this is the sort of age that, the experiences that take place in this age that they really shape you as a person. So what are we looking at? Like a 15-year-old me. How is she?
Actually, I'd like to go to 14 because that was when my life changed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was 14 years old, and I was standing in the aisle of the library of between books of the National Library of Singapore. It no longer exists as a building, but this is where my epiphany happened, which is I had just read Brave New World in 1984, which people do at the age of 14 and 15, which I think you probably have, Rahim. Um, and I suddenly realized that the world would change in my lifetime and that technology would transform everything, and that we would have a choice between a path of technology used to control us for the benefit of very few, or technology that would allow everybody to thrive. And at that moment, at 14, in the National Library of Singapore, I swore to myself that I was going to make sure that we took the right path where technology would help everybody to thrive.
Yeah. Well, that's a really beautiful moment, and I think it's moments like this that really shape your journey with what your goal in life is and your vision is. And so, I mean, I realized that through your life, because I mean, I was born in 2007, so I pretty much grew up with technology around. So like I'm used to, phones and TVs and laptops and all of that. But I'm sure that especially, with your goal of, having humanity use technology for the best for all of us, you've seen technology evolve a lot. Do you still like sometimes find it surprising, like, oh my God, like we can do this? Because I know it happens to me sometimes that, okay, so there's so many new technologies that come up every day that are just so mind-boggling.
Well, you have to know that because I made that vow to myself over 50 years ago, for 50 years, I have followed a track which has kept me at the breaking wave of technology. And I've lived in 4 continents. I have also lived for 4 decades in Silicon Valley, and I live in the heart of Silicon Valley in Palo Alto, very near University Avenue downtown. Stanford is my regular walking area. And I went to MIT. I worked for Intel. I worked for Oracle, and I helped to invent the largest software category in the world, customer relationship management. So I pretty much am always a little bit ahead of technology. I anticipate what's going on and I shape it. So I don't feel, oh my God. Sometimes I do. Uh, I'm very happy about music. I had nothing to do with technology that became the iPod, the Walkman, and then the iPod, and then now we all have music in our phones. I play the piano, and so I am very close to music, and that's an area where it is wonderful to have just tremendous sound quality in my AirPods, which I'm wearing now, and to have that accompany me on my daily walks, that's really a blessing.
That is for sure. Because I think technology has made all of our lives such easy. I feel like, it's always, um, very facilitating technology because I feel like for me, I go to an online school and right now we're connecting virtually. So a lot of things in my life that are like major events or things that are part of, my
Yeah.
usual just
Yeah.
won't be there if technology wasn't there. But I see a lot of people, and it is true, discuss, the downside of technology, of like this rapid, change that we see in our society due to technology, because there's so many people that are talking about the dark side of tech, of social media, of all this marginalization. And I mean, I don't know a lot, and I'm not an expert here. But I do see that there is definitely, parts of it that can be a little spooky, for one to just realize. But doesn't it come down to how you use it? So what do you have to say about that?
Well, first, I would say you do know a lot, absolutely. Um, and I am very impressed with the level of understanding that you bring to looking at technology. Um, Technology is like fire. It can burn us up or it can provide tremendous benefits. But we as humans have a responsibility, but how we put in the guardrails and also understand how to best use it. And I came to that realization in 1995 because I had invented, I'm the godmother of CRM. I'm not the only one, but we had at Oracle begun the first prototype customer relationship management system called Oasis. And then in the 90s, I saw it really spreading like wildfire, but also getting used in a way that caused enormous scandals in the world. You don't remember this because you weren't born, but Enron, WorldCom, and then Wells Fargo in the year you were born had tremendous scandals because of how technology had changed the way business worked. And people began to see that you could actually present views of the business that weren't the real view.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see that's happening in social media now, but it happened, that, that 25 years ago in business when business first started using technology. So I saw that that was going to happen. And I knew that when the internet really started spreading, that that would happen even more. And that's when I co-founded the People-Centered Internet to make sure that the way we use technology is centered on us, on people, on families, on children, on the elderly, on the disabled, people who are blind, people who are different, the vulnerable, indigenous people. We have a tremendous tool, but it's up in our hands to use it. And that's probably the thing that I worry about the most is that young people come to it and it looks like air. Like, what can we do? This is air, this is how it is, but it's not at all. In 1974, almost 50 years ago, the TCP/IP spec that underlies the internet was invented. It was written, and then it took all of this time to have this happen. The People-Centered Internet was co-founded by one of the writers of that spec. Vint Cerf is one of the fathers of the internet, and he and I co-founded People-Centered Internet because the promise of the internet is of the people, by the people, and for the people. And the people who made the internet spread really did it as people for the future. And we now, today, are squandering their sacrifices because we are just taking it as, oh, it's the government, it's the big companies, it's this. No, it was always by the people. Now, if we, the people, don't take our responsibility to step up and say, what is the future that the internet can give us, that can enable us to imagine, we need to do that, an act of imagination, and not just say, oh, I'm helpless, poor me, it's somebody else's problem.
Yeah, that's really right. And the second that I actually read, people-centered internet, um, the first thing that I thought of is that internet is essentially it's for us. And I think sometimes we lose touch of that because we think that, oh my God, technology is going to distance us humans from each other. So we see that, oh, there's a family and then their kids doing, their things on the iPad and the parents are on their laptops or phones and, they're together, but they're not together. I feel like the purpose of the internet, of this rapid modernization through technology, is for us as humanity to benefit hugely from it, because I think the way that it is so beautifully able to connect us as all, because I mean, if the two of us were to meet and have a chat, either I'd have to fly out, you'd have to fly out, and how would we even know each other if it wasn't for the internet in the first place? So somehow, if we even knew each other, it would be a lot of work, and we wouldn't be able to have this chat. We wouldn't be able to have most of the chats that we have as professionals that care about the people. So I feel like just how, it gives us so much opportunity to co-create and to collaborate and to talk to like-minded people to get our ideas across is really going to help us, because if it's the internet, it's different platforms, it's social media, that's what's going to help us fight climate change in the future. That's what's going to help us fight world hunger and poverty and so many issues that we have going on right now. So I think we need to really realize that it is by us and for us, and it is the time for us to actually realize and use that and not think of it. Because I've heard a lot of that. Oh my God, it's just all by the government, or like, oh my God, it's just like a thing that big companies are doing to, do God knows what. So stuff like that. I think it's just the things that we want to believe, but we need to be optimistic towards this thing. And I think as humans, we can be a little resistant towards change sometimes, like how technology completely took over when it was COVID time. We were just not ready to let that happen.
Yeah, so I'd like to tell you about what I'm doing right now because it's relevant. Um, I have engaged with the US government for some years. I was the subject matter expert for the US Department of Defense for networked improvement communities. So this is how we could use technology to help not only inside a community, people share and learn with each other, but actually between communities. So your community in Pakistan and my community in Palo Alto. Imagine if we were able to share, well, here's how we do waste disposal. Here's how children go to school. Um, let's share some ideas that maybe in Pakistan uh, could be really useful for us here in Palo Alto.
Mhm.
All of that is possible. And in fact, over the YouTube, for example, I heard about this, you know, Indian grandmother who now cooks traditional Indian food, and everybody watches her recipes, how she does it. So new things are able to be shared. But as the subject matter expert for network improvement communities, we looked at the future of health because this is again about people. How could people thrive and flourish by being more connected? So that study was done from 2009 to 2013, was when I was involved. Eventually, I became the socio-technical lead about federal health futures. So I left in 2013, but now 10 years later, I'm working with the people that I knew, and we kicked off that journey in Federal Health Futures in 2013. Now in 2023, we are landing on an experiment to try to do that, to see how the internet can help us have community learning and living labs where we learn and live with each other and we learn and live with other communities. And we don't think it's going to be easy. It's probably the hardest thing that actually the US government has ever tried. And I'm very proud and pleased to be the initiator of the Puerto Rico Prosperity Initiative. It's just been announced in the public domain on January 13th.
Yeah. That's that's really beautiful, because I think it is important for us to have people like you and people like, all the people that are on your team that have been on your teams to really help us see the big picture over here, because it's very important for us to do that. So yeah, thank you so much, and it's great knowing about your work. And I'd love to be involved in any way that I am, because I feel like, I'm in a different part of the world, and because I go to the school, in the US online. So I see, and then, some of them are actually in the US, some of them are in, countries like Panama, which is like totally different culture, totally different community. And it's so beautiful to see how they do things. And it's like, oh, we do it this way. And sometimes we can learn from them and they can learn from us. And I think that's how we create this, global
That's right.
village, so to say, because I think, I've and my dad really believed that it takes a village to, raise a child. And so that's why when I came on social media, I was 12 years old. I was heavily monitored, but I was, getting influenced by so many different people, that I say that so many of people, my network, my mentors, they're together with my parents and my family, are the ones that raised me to become who I am today. So I'm definitely very grateful to have this opportunity. And I feel like that other people, and this should be made more accessible, that other people are able to get influenced by the right people at the right time. We can't always make
Yes.
sure it's the right people at the right time, but we can only try our best to provide this opportunity and access to everyone that would need this and utilize this in the future.
So I have a final call to action that if you and others know somebody who is 15 years old, to remember that to pull off big things takes time. So I made the vow to myself when I was 14. It's over 50 years since then. And this year, I'm pulling it off. So don't give up. Winston Churchill once gave a speech where he said, never give up, 7 times. That was his entire speech. And when you look at his life, you will see what he accomplished with that guidance.
Yeah. It is very important to go on with it, even in the hard times. Thank you so much, May, for being on here. It was a pleasure having you on. And there's so many things that you do, and so many initiatives and things that you have been part of. But the goal is one, and you're very um, focused on what you want to do, and you have it very clear in the mind. Is there any um ad advice that you would want to give out to the younger people in the audience, perhaps, about staying focused in life and never losing sight of the end goal?
Um, choose something big that you want your life to have meaning about, and just don't give up on it. Because when you choose something big, it can last you your whole life, as mine has. And when some purpose lasts your whole life, everything you learn has compound interest over that time. So every time you change your purpose of life, to some degree, you're having to start again on that new thing. And you can take some of the knowledge, but you can't take all of the knowledge. The benefit that I had is I've taken all of the knowledge that I have accumulated for 50 years, and it's all in the same direction, and it's compound interest over 50 years. So people often say, please start saving for your retirement when you're young. It's kind of the same way. Please start making your life meaningful for something you really care about when you're young. It will pay off in 1,000 different ways. I guarantee it.
Yeah, thank you so much, May. That was really beautiful, and thank you so much, everyone, for watching. It was honestly great being here, and I think that I have definitely been inspired today. So yeah, thank you. And there will be more conversations to come. So yeah, thank you so much for being here.